We're back. It's time for the 2024 Urban NerdCon. Join us in Atlanta, Georgia, April 26th through the 28th at the Cortland Grand Hotel. Special guests include the Sci-Fi Sisters, Underworld creator Kevin Grievous, from Nickelodeon, Giovanni Samuels, the Science Machine Michael Green, from Spaceballs and Star Trek Voyager Tim Russ, and from the Fairly Odd Parents Gary L. Gray.
What up, y'all? It's Gary Gray. Check it out. I need you to do something for me. Join me April 26th through the 28th at the Cortland Grand Hotel in Atlanta, Georgia for Urban NerdCon. It's going to be lit. Okay. Our heroes, our villains, everyone's con. See y'all there.
Visit theurbannerdcon.net to get your buy one, get one free badges before the price increases. Remember, our heroes, our villains, our stories, everyone's con. See you there.
But my beats, they are hard.
All right, hello, welcome to another live edition of the BCSN SportsWrap. Brian Fulford and A.D. Drew here live on a Sunday night. Drew, how you doing, my man? What's good with you this evening? How was your week? See, you're already off to a bad start. Mute, you're on mute. You're already off to a bad start. You're off to a glowing start on mute. That's all right. I know you'll figure it out here.
That's because you got jokes, and I didn't want people to hear the cussing that was going on in my mind when you asked me that question, my brother.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
How was my week? That shows how much you pay attention when we had conversations before the show.
No. I'm giving you the open door to let the people know how hard or good your week was. That's all. Just
okay. I'm going.
Filling time at the beginning of the show. Filling time at the beginning of the show.
For those who work in athletic communications, this week or sometime this week is one of two periods of what we like to call hell. And that is what's officially known as crossover season in our genre. That is when you have sports that have currently been playing. In this case, that would be basketball, men and women. Some people have indoor track. You may have bowling. Only one team has swimming. That's Howard. But you get what I get. You've got all your winter sports that have currently been playing. And you have new sports coming online: softball, baseball, tennis, golf, outdoor track, stuff like that. Am I missing another spring sport, Brian? Men's volleyball in the SIAC.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So when those cross over, the workload goes from easy and manageable to chaotic for about a 4 to 6 week period. And that's all depending on how well your current team, your winter sports, do in their various conference tournaments, playoffs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's it's hell, it's tiring. And the most frustrating, I won't say frustrating, the challenge that I had this weekend was all of my teams were at home.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So in baseball, softball, and volleyball, baseball, softball, and basketball, I had double headers. So I had to manage 6 games in one day. And let me give you the timeline. Basketball, women's tipped off at 12. Softball first pitch at 1. Baseball first pitch at 1. Men's basketball tipped off at 2. Game 2 was a softball doubleheader. First pitch was at 3. Men's basketball finished about 3:45. Baseball game 2 started at 4. Softball finished about 5:15, 5:30, and baseball finally finished about 7 o'clock. So starting every sport and ending every sport, and you notice there was like less than an hour gap between all of those activities. And all those activities require different duties and responsibilities for people who are in my position. But I will say this: thank God for my work study students. Thank God for interns, and thank God for contract labor. And Brian knows what I'm talking about because we've done work independent contracts for various events and for various schools. So people like that who go out and pick up games over the weekends, thank God people were available this weekend. And that included having 2 people call out sick on me this week due to the flu that's going around. AD already sufficient to handle that type of day, or do you bring in help? in a normal situation where I just have one event going on, yes, I'm usually staffed. Sometimes on certain days, people are begging me to let them work, and sometimes you split it to try to split the money up. On days like that, it seems like you never have enough people. And the thing is, Edwin, you don't want warm bodies doing this stuff, because when you go to look at your side or your athletic site, you want to have confidence that the information that is presented is correct, be that from the stats that are accumulated for your favorite team, or the article that is being written, or and things like that. So you want to make sure that all of that stuff is correct. And if your institution is streaming, like most of us should be doing for our home games, like where I work at, we do for all of our home games. That's a whole nother layer of people and responsibilities that you have to make sure is the stream going out, is the link broken, computers, cameras, camera operators, producers, do you have a play-by-play person? There's a whole nother level of duties and responsibility.
Do you guys charge pay-per-view?
No, it's free.
What's the debate? Has there been a debate about streaming pay-per-view versus not doing pay-per-view?
I think the only time they actually did it was during the pandemic, where I work at. Obviously, I started after the pandemic. They did it during the pandemic because everybody was trying to do whatever they could to generate, $1 or $2. But you got to think about it. Baseball and softball are non-real sports in most places. So most people don't charge admission for baseball and softball. So if you're not charging a gate admission, how you gonna charge for a pay-per-view?
Okay, good point. I mean, is there? I'm just curious because I'm constantly.
Before you answer your point, I just thought about that. Does Rattler Plus charge for baseball and softball? Or will they be charging for baseball and softball? And anybody else? I know Southern. I know most of the SWAC schools are charging.
Your first question: Will they?
Will
That's
right.
the question. We don't even know that they.
Did you go there?
I'm going there. I got things to say. I don't know if I got time to say them, but I got things to say.
Hey, we did open forum up, but if a small NAIA school like the one I work at can figure this out, I'm pretty sure FAMU with a hell of a lot more resources and
university should be able to.
And despite what you say about that, they have at least 4 times the budget that we have, despite them being
in a deficit.
At least.
Yeah. Except, yeah.
But if we can do it, damn it, y'all can do it. And also for our other people out there, does your institution charge a pay-per-view for those who are doing pay-per-view for non-revenue sports, baseball, softball, in particular? I know those are the 2 big ones that people. I'm just curious. But get back to your point, Brian. You about to go on a tangent before I cut you off.
No. Look, I was just curious, because I think that is a hot topic, a button regarding generating revenue, and the importance of whether you do charge. And here's the thing: I'm less concerned about you charging versus schools not capitalizing on the medium of communications. There is communication. There are multiple mediums that can be used and utilized. I mean, before there was streaming, Drew, how did you keep up with anything that was happening at your university? You probably had a radio.
Newspaper radio.
Okay. Just because now you have the internet and just because you have streaming doesn't mean those other methods have to entirely go away. Here's the frustrating part for me, right? As I worked an event on Saturday, right, an hour away from my home, and I wanted to notice I said listen to, stay informed with what was going on with FAMU women's game against Alabama A&M. Now, given the way that game turned out, it's probably good that I didn't hear it because I might have ran off the road being frustrated at the way that game ended, which we'll talk about later. But I'm stuck with having to do live stats, right? Or I could choose to pay, the Alabama A&M pay-per-view fee to watch the game. Now, if I pay pay-per-view to watch an Alabama A&M broadcast, I'm giving the money to Alabama A&M, right? So, but I'm just thinking to myself, why isn't there an audio broadcast of the game from the Florida A&M perspective? Now, God bless Charles Edmond, one of the few within the SWAC who goes, oh yeah, I'm gonna be grumpy old man today, the boys. I'm definitely gonna be that guy. So, it's just gonna be that day today. He's one of the few who travels to probably over 90% of Alcorn State sports games. Regardless of the sport, he is there. I mean, Alcorn, how do they call them? Alcornites, whatever.
Alcornites.
Brave Nation. They don't have to go without knowing what's going on with their teams. Why? Because Charles and that Alcorn State Sports Network has various means, whether it be through radio, online streaming, or they, as they do the other day, they sync it up with their internet YouTube feed. And all I'm just saying is, in this day and age where people still drive, the radio medium is not dead. Contrary to many people's thoughts and opinions, it didn't die when satellite radio came. It didn't die when internet streaming came. Guess what? Radio is still alive. The radio broadcast signal is still alive. And so sending somebody out to the game, or God forbid, renting, I don't know if the right word is renting or contracting it to be broadcast on location by another entity or source, could be done at a reasonably affordable price, in my opinion, in order to be able to give the fan base an opportunity to listen to the game, which is what I would have died to do on my hour drive from Melbourne back home. Instead, I'm on the road. I hate to say this. I'm confessing. Lord, Father, forgive me. While I'm looking at YouTube, while I'm on my phone playing with the doggone app. I mean, thank God there's no major traffic on the road. I know I'm living dangerous. I know. And I don't recommend you guys do this at home or when you're driving. Drive safe, 2 hands on the wheel. Don't be distracted. Put it down, lose it or get a ticket, whatever. All those things apply when I could have been listening to the game. Instead, I'm fumbling around trying to find and get updates on the game. So I wanted to hear the meltdown, Drew. I wanted to hear how FAMU's women melted down in the fourth quarter. I wanted to hear how Alabama A&M rallied from a 17-point deficit. I wanted to hear it. I couldn't hear it. That pissed me off. And so, among all the other things that we don't do at Florida A&M, and I'm not the only school. I don't belong to a part of the only school. I'm sure there's other schools. And you guys are out there, and I'm sure maybe sometime you'd like to be able to listen to your game. Maybe while you're doing some cleaning at the house. Maybe while you're doing something. You could be watching another TV show. But wouldn't you like to be able to listen to your game from your school? We've got to get there. Athletic directors, SIDs, we got to get back to connecting with your audience. You can't ask me to be excited about my team when I can't listen to the team, when I can't follow the team, when I can't hear the team. So I applaud you, Drew, being at a school that's serving the community and giving the community at your school an opportunity to listen and watch and follow the team. And when the team has success, you feel you want to give. Hell, you could run infomercials during the game. I'm sure if you wanted to find a way to let one broadcaster travel with it, if you can put an athletic administrator on a team bus and a plane or whatever with the team, I'm sure you could put one play-by-play guy and his audio equipment on the bus as well. Make him, I don't know, maybe he buys his own hotel airfare and or not his hotel, his own hotel room, and then maybe can find a way to get it reimbursed. Maybe you can find here's an idea, Drew. Maybe you can find a sponsor. Oh, holy cow. Oh, Jesus, help me. There's an idea. Find a sponsor to do what, Drew? Hey, this radio broadcast is sponsored by Piggly Wiggly, who made sure that you can hear Rattler Athletics or I don't mean to use Rattler Athletics, any school, any program.
Insert your school here.
Insert your school here. I'm sorry. I'm using my school because we don't do that.
Right. Well, and since we done went down this rabbit hole, Bryan, let's go ahead and continue down this rabbit hole until we go to the first break, because the whole first segment is gone right now.
Look at the time. Look at the time. How it's going.
Exactly. So we might as well carry this out for the rest of the first segment. All right. Let's get to some of the questions people have asked.
Yeah, sure. Let's see what's out there.
I want to shout out Alcorn State. Charles is there religiously with those teams. Now during this time of the year, baseball, softball time, he has to split. He goes, but the thing is, he alternates. He goes baseball one weekend. He goes softball the other weekend.
He does.
Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You know, so I think that is brain. Now, the only thing that if they could improve on it, where if baseball is at home and softball is on the road, if they could have a second person to fill in, they go opposite Charles. Oh, they would be in heaven over there at Alcorn. But other than that, I mean, how much does it really cost? Like you said, a hotel room, a laptop, headphones, and maybe some type of internet device in case you're not able to get on the. You don't want to do Wi-Fi at a school because it usually gets too busy. But if you're not able to get on Ethernet, something where you can have a dedicated hotspot or Wi-Fi to stream it out. And what? A meal per diem? We're talking what? Maybe $200 a broadcast, $250 a broadcast, maybe, Brian? Given those bare minimum dynamics that I just talked about.
Exactly.
It's not hard. It is not hard.
I would send even a broadcast student. You know what? Send a student, send a broadcast student or a broadcast intern on the road. Again, utilize what's there. You already got a team bus. Put them on the bus. I know there's probably this seat that you can stick him in or her, and send them to the game. Send them to the game. You know, I mean,
is that what we call real world experience, Ryan?
That's valuable real world experience, man. I mean, there are schools who utilize student athletes. I know Alabama A&M has used students. Mississippi Valley State has utilized students, and they do a great job because they're trained how to broadcast a game. They're taught. I mean, and that's what we have our educational institutions, regardless of the job. What are some of those?
So let's get to some of the stuff that people were chatting about. Why not media groups be charged for games and buy a ticket? And I think I know where you're going with this, Russell. You know, my thing is it's two things. Either A, you need to build your fan base and your streaming base, be it audio or video, enough where you can go out and get advertisers and enough sponsorship where you can keep it free for the masses. The only way, and this is where y'all come in, the only way you keep this free is you got to actually log on and either listen or watch, even if you're not watching.
Right.
Let the algorithms, let the data collect.
Yep.
You know, I'm not saying how to cheat the system, but you know, there's nothing wrong with logging on 2-3 different devices.
Hey, download the podcast. I don't care if you listen; it'd be great if you did, but go download. Why? Because downloads matter in the world of podcast.
Yeah, watch it on 2-3 devices. So that those numbers click up. Hey, we had this many people and they watched us for an average of this many minutes. Now we could go back and say, this is what we're asking for as far as for you to run a 30-second spot doing a media timeout. And you that's where the business comes in. That's just the art of doing business right there. It's not hard. Or B, you charge a fee. Now, the one thing I don't like about the SWAC is everybody's fees are all over the board.
Oh, yes.
There is like no standard. If everybody was $9.99, you know, you could kind of figure it out. But and let's be real, Brian. When did you find out how much Alabama A&M's fee was? Probably about an hour before the game when you was making a decision on whether you wanted to purchase the Alabama-Florida A&M game or not, correct?
Well,
go ahead.
No, I was going to say, well, honestly, a little bit before that, because you know why? Because Liv, she posted it when she does her Twitter pregame. She lets you know
Friday night.
Friday night, right? So Friday night, I kind of knew what the pricing was, and I think next week what we're gonna do, Drew, is I'm gonna put up a chart that shows what everybody's costs are and what everybody charges. I think it'll be fascinating to kind of see the differences that every school charges for their services.
Right. So, and figure it out. And I'm gonna be honest with you, Brian. I'm not paying whatever it is, the $9.99. If I've got to watch this game. No. But listen to me. I'm taking a different thing. It's a totally different thing. If I got to sit here and watch this game on my phone, I might pay it if I have the luxury of sitting at home watching it on my TV. But as you know, Saturdays we tend to be on the go because if you work a 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, the only time you can get work done, personal stuff done, is on the Saturday. So I'm not paying just me. I'm not paying $9.99 to watch something on my iPhone. If I'm gonna pay that,
you get a month for $9.99. You get a month.
Well, if I get a month, but if I'm talking about a one game fee, and which some schools do, a one-time game fee, I'm not doing it on my phone. I'll do it. I might do it at the house, but I'm not gonna do it on the phone. That's just a me. That's a me thing. All right, let's see. Let's keep going down the line quickly. I don't think our SWAC schools stream baseball, indoor softball at home. And I'll give you the answer to one of those reasons, Edwin. Most of our schools don't have the infrastructure.
Alabama State,
where they play baseball.
Alabama State does stream both. I know that for a fact.
I said I didn't say all, but I said a lot of them. And we'll take our institution. We know Florida A&M doesn't have the infrastructure.
They don't. Bethune-Cookman does stream baseball. I'm not sure about softball. Texas Southern, I've seen a baseball game streamed at Texas Southern. I don't know about softball though.
Yeah, I didn't mean to bring that one up. I'll come back to that with Dr. Cavill. Next one is Dr. Cavill. I love the idea. Question is, where do the funds come from to support this venture? And we already kind of talked about it. And Dr. Cavill knows you've got to build the market. You've got to build the basis so that you can go out and command the money. Now, in the meantime, in order to build that market, it takes money to make money. Somebody has to be smart enough to invest, to understand that athletics are the front porch of most of our institutions. And if we want to get out, especially if you've got a hot player, if you got a hot player, and Brian, case study. Think back 3 years ago, everybody and their mama was streaming something Jackson State.
Yeah.
We had the pregame show right here on the Black College Sports Network. You had the 1400 Club. You had about 5 Jackson State based podcasts, streaming platforms, et cetera. Somebody at Jackson State was smart enough to realize, now maybe it took Bryan bringing his team in to show them the numbers, how smart they were, or maybe they already knew and just needed something to kick them in the butt to do it. But they took advantage of that situation. And, FAMU being creative, coming up with this Rattlers Plus with their app. Very innovative. Sometimes you got to take a leap out there on faith. They didn't know if anybody was going to download this app and buy this doggone app when Josh put this app out this year, did it? But he was able to take that leap on faith, get the investment that he needed to do this. And there's other schools who are doing stuff. And I'm just using those as two quick examples. Some schools do have radio. WJSU carries the basketball games. I don't know why we got away from radio, Brian. I really don't know why we got away from radio. And for me, on a day like yesterday, when I was moving around working, I had no time to watch video.
Right.
But I could have put my AirPods in and I could have had the game on my phone on the audio broadcast.
Correct.
Of the game and been able to possibly keep it on. And there's been many days that I've been like that where I could have just listen to the audio. And let's be real. The audio broadcast is really not for the 40 and under crowd, I don't think, Ryan. That more video. But guess what all the disposable income is at? The plus 40 crowd.
Yes, indeed.
So maybe somebody should get smart enough and cater to the people who have that disposable income. And if you cater to those, probably. And if you think about the people who have the most disposable income, probably 55 and over.
Oh yeah.
All their kids grown. Their kids grown out the house. Most of their kids are out of college by the time they get to that age. And they've got money. What do? They'll do that, but go around, travel, them and their significant other, go around, travel, spend money on dumb stuff, buy that sports car they always wanted. They have the money to do that kind of stuff. But although the young media is going, let's think about where the money is actually made at.
Yeah. I'm curious about that WJSU. Is WJSU the on-campus radio station? And if so, and that's a synergy.
Schools need to take advantage of their campus radio stations.
That's a synergy that should have. Look, I know you want to partner with a radio station, and look, and FAMU used to have one of the largest radio stations that were part
WAMF.
Yeah, no. I'm saying they used to have a relationship with what is it, HBX 96.1.
Yeah, WHBX 96.1 cumulative station.
Blowtorch. That was a blowtorch. That you can get that channel all over a large area of the Panhandle, right? That their reach was. Yes. But even just within the market of the community in Tallahassee, and hey, guess what? A lot of radio stations are streaming their network on the what? Internet. The same internet that we're on. Hello. So look, hey, there's an advantage to an internship opportunity, or not even just an internship opportunity. How about an opportunity for broadcast students who have an interest in sports to utilize the campus radio station to go what? Broadcast the game. Again,
I'm gonna hold my 2 cents on that. Dr. Cavill.
What was that previous
question? They're independent at base. This is one.
Oh, yeah.
You talk about all the sports that schools participating in. As far as streaming, yeah, I really think if that's what your question was asking the boys, if your school participates in that sport, you should find some way to have some type of video coverage or at least audio coverage of it. And I don't mean turn on the huddle cam and let people guess what the hell is going on. Those who know what I'm talking about. Next one, Dr. Cavill. They are independent and based on the cost of that institution to provide the service. Oh, that's fine, Dr. Cavill. I guess what I'm saying is it's like no centralized place to go and find out information about the various packages without actually digging into each school's athletic website to find out the information. I think that is my frustration, Dr. Cavill. And then when you dig into it, you find out the prices are all over the place. You got 1 day packages, you got 1 month packages, you got season packages, and those aren't, everybody doesn't offer that. So you actually have to, I hate to say it, Dr. Cavill, you actually have to do some homework to figure out what selection that you want to make when you're watching the game. Now, you say Alabama A&M has a month-long package. Brian, they have a month option on their package.
Yeah, most of the schools do have a month-long option.
So when you have multiple sports, just a little secret, take a look and see if you travel back to that school in another sport on determining whether to get that day pass or that month pass. And I'll just say, for instance, if FAMU was going back to Alabama A&M, say in softball in the month of February, then I'm going to buy that month package, assuming that they were going to be streaming softball. If I'm making sense with what I just said, Brian.
You are.
Versus just buy the day package.
Yeah, you are. Valley tried to stream baseball last year. Good for Valley. Hey, I'm at least they tried. Look, I think what and there's another comment there about that Doc said about on-campus radio stations not having traditional public radio sponsorship. So what I think what
they have PSAs.
Yes, you have PSAs, but you can do one or the
Right.
other. I think in lieu of not having anything, I think utilizing the source that you have on campus makes sense. The same way that maybe you can't hire an outside company to do X, Y, and Z. Maybe it's your stats, maybe it's your marketing. But guess what? You have resources between students on campus who can utilize and take advantage of the real world experience that your athletic department can provide. And it's serving two masters. Now, again, if you want to go down the road of getting real sponsorship dollars of whatever value, then yeah, you don't use the campus radio station. You can create your own outline. I mean, there's a way to do it. You have a website. I mean, you have these platforms, Rattlers Plus or other outlets that you've created. I guess either or, do something. Do something.
Yeah.
That's all I'm advocating and wanting to see done. I just think
here's Doc's. Yeah, and here's Doc's follow-up to that question. The on-campus radio stat, I think he meant to say station, has a director that in most cases does not report to the dean of the School of Communication. The university marketing team does not report either. And I just want to throw this 2 cents in. You can get the effect of a commercial with a PSA at a public radio station. And I've done this when I used to work at KJLU in Jefferson City, Missouri. That's the public radio station of Lincoln, Missouri, Lincoln University of Missouri. I used to work there. Not in the sports. I was just a regular DJ at that point in time. But we used to have to take what the information people would normally put into a commercial, give it the guidance of the FCC as far as PSAs for a public radio station, and turn it into a basically a PSA, and there's certain things you can't have a call to action. You can't mention price. Those are the two biggest names that we had to do, but you could give out information. So,
and look, I understand the biggest problem is that yes, most colleges aren't run like businesses, and they run in two different. Look, I know a lot of the concepts I'm referring to and talking about are more business concepts and not concepts that a university is not structured to run in a certain way.
And that's the difference between education and business.
But athletics is an entity that if ran properly, can generate revenue to A, support itself, to A, do things that bring value to the university overall, maybe in tangible ways that bring value to the university. And that's where the forward thinking and the out of the box thinking, because again, I think there's value to hearing your guy. Like, hearing Charles Edmond talk about Alcorn State sports is got to be pleasing to Alcornites because he knows the team, he talks to the coaches, he gets to know the players through the coaches. And as a side note, I want to encourage everybody. Hopefully, you've been seeing recently, we've started running basketball shows, the Landon Bussey show and the Nate Kilbert show that is recorded live on Wednesdays. We've started streaming those on the Black College Sports Network on all of our outlets, on whether it be our podcast feed, our YouTube, our Facebook, and again, that's got to be pleasing. He knows those teams. So the reason why you send him on the road is because He knows those teams. There is nothing. How many times, Drew, do we watch like a game? I'm going to use that game that happened in New Jersey this weekend. Now, full confession, I didn't get a chance to watch it, between Grambling and Jackson State and Hampton and Howard, right? I bet each of those institutions have a guy, right, that calls games for that school, right? So there are going to be things that he knows about that team, those players, that bring a uniqueness to the broadcast. That, guess what? Your national broadcast guys can only do so much research, right? They're only going to do so much research. And at the end of the day, when you start generalizing about conversations surrounding HBCU and other stuff, guess what? Oh, that means we've kind of ran out of specific content related to these players or these teams, how these teams run, what their season has been like thus far. So trust me.
You gotta love the atmosphere. You gotta love the band. Y'all done ran out of content. That's all.
We know. We've been there. Drew and I have been there. We've done many a broadcast.
We ran out of content, and we know these HBCUs better than. But when you have a bloody point blowout at a basketball game, sometimes you run out of content. You just trying to keep people from clicking off and everything. Last couple months before we get to break, Brian, the boys, you just struck a nerve with me on this. I don't see recovering all sports when they are playing away games. Money generating sports, yes. Some others I don't see. Them boys, they are student athletes. They own scholarship. They represent your institution. Their coach makes a salary. Some of these teams, these non-revenue teams that you don't want to see, are probably doing better than your football team and your basketball team a lot of times. You know, we'll take, FAMU Bowling? If we're talking Florida A&M, FAMU Bowling doing a hell of a lot better than women's and men's basketball, despite everything that's going on with FAMU Bowling this year. But what does everybody see? FAMU Volleyball. Did anybody see FAMU Volleyball this year? Nope, but they were SWAC runner up. So those non-Rebs you don't want to, or those non-Rebs you don't want to see them boys. I'm just curious.
And
somebody, and most importantly, there's a mama, there's a daddy, there's an auntie, there's a grandmother, there's somebody else who can't travel on a weekday game to go see their baby play, and the only way they can watch their baby play is by watching on their phone, their iPad, or their computer. Now, you struck a nerve on me with that one. But, Brian, I think we found a solution for everything that we're trying to do.
What's that?
Just go live at home, please.
Look, if high school, again, if high schools can do it, Drew, I mean, at some point you got to look at it and say, damn, if the local high school can do it, how come we can't do it? How come we aren't doing it? That should be your biggest shame. You should look at that and say, the local high school can do it. We're not doing it. How come we can't do it?
Okay.
Make that make sense.
Thank you for clarifying, your boys. I don't want to see the schools have to pay people to travel to have a school-specific broadcast so you can see it on the other school's feed. It does not make money sense. That's assuming that the other school actually has a feed. And I understand your point, assuming that the other school has a feed. That's a valid point.
I would argue and say, again,
I'd love to hear my own people though, but I understand where he's coming from.
A lot of schools will put the broadcast team on the travel bus, or if it's a bigger school, the plane with the team. And they will travel with the team right up there in the front with the coaches. because their job is to broadcast the game.
Yeah.
They will try. So it's like you're not paying. And I mean, look, I know you got to.
I mean, that person's going to have some other type of job on campus. It's not like that's their only job most of the time.
Yeah.
It would be nice. Or that person is a retired so-and-so and so-and-so who wants to hang around the athletic department, and you're giving them some type of stipend or whatever to broadcast. That's perfectly fine. Now, them boys, I do want to say this though. You say when the other team has a broadcast, that's assuming that the other school is actually producing a broadcast. And when you get past the Division I level, the SWACs, the BACs, when you get into the Division IIs and the NAIAs, a lot of times it's C and P, as I call it, Bryan. Camera and pray. There's a camera streaming. You get ambient sound, and you pray that you can figure out what's going on.
That's a nice little acronym.
And once you get past Division I, if you're a Division II or NAIA fan, you know what I'm talking about. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Division I's, they pretty much have everything together when it comes to those. So.
And let me give one more. And hey, I'll add this to that. You know, if I'm paying the Alabama A&M broadcast, guess who I'm listening to? I'm listening to it from the Alabama A&M perspective, right?
Of course.
I'm not listening to a bipartisan, feed. It's skewed mostly towards the home team, which
Correct.
again, I just feel like there's value in hearing praise, hearing the positive comments, the criticism
of your own team.
Yeah, of your own team, and knowing it's coming from a place of knowledge from somebody who's watched this team, maybe even gone to practices, talked to the coaches, talked to the players. There's value. It's called bringing insight. Okay, so I think I love the thought. And again, next week I got to work on putting together that summary of what everybody's fees are in basketball. And here's another thing that I'm kind of curious about, Drew. And this is I know we've gotten long in this segment.
We've gone down a rabbit hole.
We
were not expected to go down.
It's amazing that I think a lot of people, when I've had this discussion in other places with other people, a lot of times people go back to what the conference, like the SWAC should do more. I hear the same thing said about football. Like the MEAC should do more. And I always wonder, and then I just kind of look around and seeing what other mid-major. I'm going to get out of the power. I'm not talking about the Power 5, Power 6, but I'm looking at what other entities of comparable playing size and structure mid-majors do, and do those conferences, what do they do? How are they different than the SWAC or the MEAC, Yeah. So, but yes, they do bid out those radio rights. But those, I will say this: they bid out those radio rights, but they bid out those radio rights to entities like, who's the major company?
Cumulus.
Is it Cumulus?
You talk about radio. You got Cumulus Clear Channel.
Yeah, but it's another entity. It's another broadcast entity that not Westwood One, but
Radio One.
It starts with an I. I can't think of it. But anyway, they handle a lot of the radio. But guess what? They hire a guy who's local to the team. They hire somebody who's local to the team. They hire somebody who's local to the fan base and community. I don't know if it's iHeart. It's oh man, it was just talked about recently by A.D. Sykes. She was talking about having conversation. Learfield, thank you, Learfield. It just hit me. Learfield is a major company in the broadcast. Learfield Communications. Learfield Communications is utilized by a lot of schools at the higher FBS level, but I know because University of Central Florida uses Learfield. But guess what? They utilize a guy who has been calling games every time, whether it be at Learfield or the previous companies before. He has been calling play-by-play for UCF Sports since I first got to Orlando in '98. And people know him as the voice of UCF Golden Knights or the UCF Knights, the same way that Charles Edmond is the voice of Alcorn State Sports. Centuria what's Centuria's last name?
Black.
Centuria Black, the voice of Grambling. Keith Miles used to be the voice of Florida A&M. Yes. You know, I mean, just names that are synonymous because they've done it for years. And so, yeah. So, I don't know.
Yeah. The only thing that I would wish, Bryan, from our conference perspective, is if there was a way to aggregate all that information somewhere on the conference website where it's easy to go. You can go and find it on the conference website, but you have.
They put a link.
I guess for me, because
they put a link.
They put, but and what I'm saying, but I know you and I know where to go get it. A lot of general fans don't know how to navigate through those conference websites to get information.
That's fair.
We've been doing this for so long. You know exactly where to go to get the information. Dr. Kavia knows where to go. Charles Bishop knows where to go. But the general fan sometimes has trouble navigating to get to something that simple. One page that has a drop down to all of radio broadcast, audio broadcast, blah, 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 blah. Each of our teams in SWAC, BAC, SIAC, CIAA. And some websites are better than others, Bryan. I'll flat out say it. Some conference sites are better than others. SWAC is pretty user friendly.
It is. Yes, it is.
BAC is maybe not as user friendly as the SWAC.
It looks like it should be, right?
The BAC website is tricky. SIAC, CIAA.
They've gotten better about those sites have gotten better about updating their content.
But the question is the information accurate? And what I mean by accurate, it hasn't been updated, because I've gone through and I've seen some stuff that not updated. And GCAC, I need y'all to step your game up. That's all I'm gonna say. GCAC. We still don't have the current basketball schedule on our website.
I just go to the NAIA website. I stopped even trying to.
But I should. You know that. Matter of fact, I told you. I'm the one who told you that's where you needed to go. Remember?
Yes, you did. You did. Yeah, you did.
I told you, but does Joe Fan know that? No, Joe Fan knows his school plays in the GCAC. What's the GCAC standing? Hell, you don't know if you go to the GCAC site. And I'm not poo-pooing on the GCAC. They're a growing conference, and then with growth comes challenges. But it's something that we've got to get better at. Your cousins in the Red River are doing a better job, GCAC.
Shout out to Donald Ware, voice of North Carolina A&T Aggies. There's another voice. See, that's what I'm talking about. Shout out your voices. If you know who's the voice.
Joshua Jackson, the voice of Edward Waters.
Edward Waters University, exactly. Rob
Frank
Frank
Lee. Yeah. Frank Lee, the voice of Golden Tiger football.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Shout out these guys. Yeah. Okay. The boys said we're gonna need to change the title of the name of the show. I don't know. We might have to go back in post production. Hey, but the name of the show, Finding Your Way. We're gonna find a way. We're gonna find a way. All right,
we're gonna find a way to get this show done by 8:00. That's what we're gonna find a way to do.
That's
and we haven't talked any sports.
That's the motivation of the show name, Finding a Way. Hey, on the other side, Morehouse has a coach, and Morehouse is looking to make some moves. We're going to talk about that on the other side. We might even get through a few basketball-related topics as well. Just hang in there for this short break. You're watching the BCSN SportsWrap right here on the Black College Sports Network.
We're back. It's time for the 2024 Urban NerdCon. Join us in Atlanta, Georgia, April 26th through the 28th at the Cortland Grand Hotel. Special guests include Underworld creator Kevin Grievous, Gary Gray from Fairly Odd Parents, from Nickelodeon, Giovanni Samuels, the Science Machine Michael Green, the Sci-Fi Sisters, and from Spaceballs and Star Trek Voyager, Tim Russ.
Hi, I'm Tim Russ. Join me April 26th through the 28th at the Cortland Grand Hotel in Atlanta, Georgia for the Urban NerdCon. Our heroes, our villains, our stories, everyone con. I'll see you there. Live long and prosper.
Visit theurbannerdcon.net to get your buy one, get one free badges before the price increases. Remember, our heroes, our villains, our stories, everyone's con. See you there.
Supermarket sushi, really?
No. Wait, Troy, you work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes.
Never not working, huh?
Oh, Troy, you're such a good teacher.
Yeah, I know. Never not working. Never not working. Never, ever not working.
Are you serious?
Never not working. Dandruff protection that's never not working. Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
This is Brian Fulford. A.D. Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN SportsWrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN SportsWrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
All right, welcome back to the BCSN Sports Wrap. Brian Fulford and A.D. Drew here. Good to have you guys on. Appreciate everybody for joining us. However, you're watching us on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, or maybe even Instagram via at MyBCSN1, the number one. Or you're watching us on our Facebook and YouTube pages. Or obviously, if you're listening or watching this in the replay, maybe in the podcast format, we appreciate you watching and listening, downloading the BCSN Pod Zone, available everywhere you listen and download to podcast. Yeah, I appreciate you picking up on that, Edwin. See that, Edwin, you be watching the show, Edwin. You just want to make your eyes shift a little bit here. Okay, so Morehouse College. Why you messing with people like that? Why are you doing that? Stop. You didn't like it the other way? Is that what it was?
I need my corner, man. It's like an old game of Hollywood Squares, man. I want my square. I want to be in my comfortable square.
Gotcha. All right. So Morehouse, the Morehouse Maroon Tigers finally have a coach, and Drew, in classic slide it under the radar fashion, they dropped the news on a Friday. You know what we say about Friday, Drew? When people drop news on Friday, what does that really mean?
The classic Friday news dump. Because by the time you get to work on Monday, you're gonna probably forget about it. And every boy, yes, you are right. We got all these leaks. Texas Southern leaked who their head coach was gonna be. Grambling leaked who their head coach was gonna be. FAMU, Morehouse. And then they pulled what I like to professionally call, Brian, the okie doke on us, and went with somebody off of the radar. And
were they
the more that I think about these, Ryan, and hold on, I'm gonna give it to you. You may be going down the same comment that I was gonna make, but the more that I think about these, maybe these were leaked just to get a little bit of fan reaction and see how many were on board, how many weren't on board before they made this decision. Or B, there was somebody who knew that person really was who they were looking at and didn't like it and didn't think their fan base would go for it and decided to leak it to, quote unquote, protect their fan base. One of the two. Where were you going with it, Brian?
Well, yeah, I don't know if I was going exactly there, but yeah, from what I've heard, that the thought about Hugh Jackson being the coach at Morehouse, that was a real possibility. It was a real probability.
That was real.
Yeah. Now, all the reasons as to why, could be surrounded around money, maybe Hugh trying to look for other opportunities at the same time, and then maybe the public backlash that came from Karan Phillips, who he writes and does things for I think it's Deadspin, and he was very vocal and adamant in his article, which because of that outreach got picked up in a lot of markets, and then even did a interview with HBCU Sports, I saw. But anyway, he was not. So all of those things may have gone into why Hugh Jackson did not become the new head coach at Morehouse. I'm not saying one is more true than the other from the information that I've heard.
I do know that the conversations were real with Morehouse and you. I can confirm that from a source.
Yeah. Well, again, the fact that Morehouse dropped it on a Friday is always confusing. It'll never. You do better to drop it on a Saturday during a basketball game, like FAMU did, than a Friday going into the weekend. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, the news came out Friday. I'm reading right here from HBCUsports.com. Morehouse announced the hiring of a coach with NFL ties, and he has ties into the Atlanta area. They named former NFL All-Pro talent, and I believe he was a wide receiver, Terrence Mathis, as the next coach at Morehouse. Mathis was an All-American wide receiver out of the University of New Mexico. He was taken in the 6th round of the 1990 draft by the Jets. He played 4 seasons with the Falcons where he became a star. And I think it says in the first season with the team, which is 94, he went to the Pro Bowl and he was an all-pro second team. Finished his career with the Falcons. Now, let me see. 94 was that was Michael Vick was there, correct?
94. No, Michael Vick didn't come to the late 90s.
So 94, that was the Dirty Birds. That was the Dirty Birds.
That was Dirty Birds. Prime was still there in 94. Okay. Yeah, that was the Dirty Birds. Andre Rison, those people. Now, that wasn't even quite the Dirty Birds. Okay. That's right. When what was your boy who used to lead the Tickets for Elvis was the coach? Used to coach down in Houston. Why is his name slipping from me right now? You know who I'm talking about.
I don't know, but I think
you know exactly who I'm talking about, Brian.
I do, but I think I've gotten off topic here.
Jerry Glanville. Jerry Glanville.
Yes, okay. Yeah.
He was the coach, I think, there.
Johnny Mathis is what is it? Anyway, Glanville. Yeah, okay. So Mathis played 7 seasons with the Falcons, and he ended his career with the Steelers in 2002. Overall, he finished with 689 receptions, 8,809 yards, 63 touchdowns. Now, he actually began his coaching career in the SIC as an offensive coordinator with Savannah State. This is his first head coaching job at the collegiate level. I don't know where. Do you know any more about his prior coaching background prior to coming to Morehouse?
That would be a negative, Brian.
Okay. So in 2011, Mathis was the offensive coordinator at Savannah State. That team was then a part of the MEAC. They did not do too well then. They scored 92 points. 92 points overall in a season. That's an 11-game season, and they scored 92 points.
He's an OC, so
that team finished 1-10. Now, the following year, that team did a little bit better, 13.4 per game. They also finished.
We're talking about the D1 days, right?
Savannah State was a part of the
MEAC days when they were sitting on much of nothing back then. It seemed like they were operating with Division II budget and trying to play Division I athletics.
Yeah, Blue Jackets said they must have beat Bethune. That's funny. I don't know.
Not during that time. Bethune was good.
Yeah, those were.
That's what the good Bethune days.
Yeah,
that's what Coach Sims. Them was the good Bethune days. We know about that.
Let's see. He was at Savannah State maybe for about 5 years, it appears. I'm reading the article here again from Kendrick Marshall at HBCUSports.com. He spent 4 years as the head coach at Pinecrest Academy in Cumming, Georgia. That record wasn't too great there, 7-25. He actually wasn't retained after the 2019 season. His last known coaching stops were at high schools, Blessed Trinity in 2020 and Fellowship Christian in 2021. So the big question, Drew, is for a school that is, and this is also sort of a tie-in to this sort of other topic, a school that is rumored, which was a hot buzz topic this week, rumored to be moving potentially to the MEAC, or at least there's talks of Morehouse moving to the MEAC. The question posed by Kendrick Marshall: is Terrence Mathis the right hire?
There's no reading between the lines on this one, Ryan. Morehouse clearly let you all know where they are in the process with this hire. This is not the hire that you would make if you're moving from Division II to FCS. Point blank. You would not go with a rookie head coach if you're looking to make a move to FCS. You would go with somebody probably, if you're smart. I'm not going to say they're not going to do it, but if you're smart, you're going with someone with FCS experience who knows what it takes to compete at the next level. And so as a head coach, that's just my personal opinion. Because as an OC at Savannah State, you don't get deep into the administrative stuff that you would need to know in order to help make this kind of a jump for your program. And that also goes to each of the coaches, football, basketball, et cetera, that would be making this jump. You want somebody else with experience with that. Now, basketball is having success. The jump in basketball probably is not as dramatic, especially administratively, as you would have in football. I mean, let's think about it, Brian. You're going from 36 to 62 scholarships. You're managing a totally different type of budget. You're talking about, in general, on the FCS level, where athletes usually get a refund of their Pell Grant versus Division II, which is grant and aid, which means your Pell Grant goes against your fees, and you don't see that money. So that's a whole different level of administration and management of budgets and money that goes when you're going from Division II to FCS. So I don't think this move was saying that we are ready to make this move within the next 3 years.
So here's what's interesting. Appreciate Kelvin jumping in. Two interesting names that Sam Washington or Broderick Fobbs. Yeah,
if you're making that move, yes, those would have made more sense.
I'm gonna read. I found this tweet by HBCU Nightly, most likely coming from Joshua Sims, in which he talked about Morehouse, and he says the move and why it makes sense, and why Morehouse moving to the MEAC makes sense. He says
it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, he says Morehouse is a $400 million plus endowment private HBCU, which is what, number 2 overall?
Number 2 to Howard.
Which is also in the MEAC, in a top 5 market in the United States, with a football stadium that has a larger capacity than 2 current members of the MEAC. Now that's impressive. That's interesting, because I think Morehouse only has a one-sided stadium. So that right there is interesting, if I'm being honest.
And the basketball arena, Forbes sits, I want to say 5,000 is the capacity of Forbes. Maybe a couple people more than 5,000.
It's a good arena. It's a good arena. It's a nice.
It's a Division I level arena.
It is. Now I don't know about the others.
Baseball plays off site. I believe they play in Decatur, if I remember correctly. Of course, they have men's volleyball. And here's the one advantage Morehouse has over any other Division II HBCU that wishes to make the jump from Division II to FCS. No Title IX.
Yeah, that's an advantage, right?
That is an advantage. No Title IX, because they're men's only. They do not have to worry about Title IX, which catches a lot of our institutions so many times trying to make sure of equity. They don't have to worry about the gender equity. They just focus all on their sports that they're gonna play.
That's another name that's out there. Fred McNair is out there. Fred McNair at Morehouse. I don't know. But anyway, what I always find interesting is
Bluefield State is open.
Stop it. Morehouse does have the alumni. There are a lot of positives to Morehouse making the move into the MEAC, which would put the MEAC at 7 football playing schools. It would serve as the 9th in a lot of the other sports, male sports, obviously. What about the other side of that, though, Drew, in terms of the SIC has always kind of found ways to stay alive even when people have transitioned and started a new conference from out of their ranks. I don't see this affecting the SIC's numbers because we've talked about this. There might be some schools moving over into the SIC. Is that what we've kind of talked about that before? Yeah.
All right, Brian, we can go down another rabbit hole that's probably going to take us the rest of the show. So
no, be quick. We don't have to go down the long. We don't have to talk. We don't have to go conference churning. Let's not go full blown conference.
And if you go back to Twitter Spaces or X Spaces or whatever the hell they call it now, this was a topic Tuesday night in that space hosted by HBCU Nightly, and it was an impromptu Twitter space. I just happened to jump on it, and there was some very good dialogue. But all right, here's the rumor mill right now, so we can go ahead and get it out here. Obviously, we brought up Morehouse. When you think of Morehouse athletically, who are you thinking about competitively, Brian? You there, Brian? I guess we've lost Brian. But anyway, getting back to it. Tuskegee and Morehouse have always been married at the hip. So with Tuskegee and Morehouse being married at the hip, what happens does Tuskegee make this move with them? That's number one. Number two, what about that other school right there in the AU Center, Clark, Atlanta? Because here's the thing. MEAC, SWAC, one, if not both of these teams want to get into the Atlanta market for obvious reasons. They want to get into the Atlanta market. But you got this thing there in the Atlanta market called the MEAC SWAC Challenge and the Celebration Bowl. So that may or may not be affected with these teams coming in. Question: if Morehouse goes into the MEAC and or the SWAC, what happens to Tuskegee? Does Tuskegee go in with them? Because we talked about Howard being number one as far as endowment, Morehouse number two. Guess who's number three? That's right, Tuskegee is number three when it comes to endowment. So if you think about it, a MEAC could potentially have not one, not two, but the three top endowed institutions in their conference. Boy, you're talking about something that you can market. And all three of those, despite what you may think about them on or off the athletic field, are known for their academics. Howard, Morehouse, Tuskegee. Yes, Tuskegee has been talking about going Division I. They actually started this talk back when Gilbert Rochon was president. I believe that was back in the early teens when Gilbert Rochon was president. He succeeded Dr. Payton. I believe Dr. Payton retired in 2010, if I had the year correct. But anyway, they started talking about it then. Since then, when Reginald Ruffin became athletic director, he's kind of pushed the focus back to the Division I FCS level. So if you remember, Tuskegee Stadium, football stadium, was offline for almost a year. It only opened for homecoming. I believe that was in 2021, coming out of the pandemic. But part of the reason for that was because they were doing some renovations to the stadium, new turf, new field house, et cetera, and everything did not get finished until the week before homecoming. So Tuskegee is definitely looking at it and trying to take it back to the Division I level. So what happens to a Tuskegee if Morehouse, does Tuskegee follow Morehouse, or does Morehouse follow a Tuskegee? Because when you look at Tuskegee, their natural rivals are in the SIA, or in the SWAC. Natural rivals: Florida A&M, Alabama State, Alabama A&M, Jackson State. Those are all rivals to Tuskegee, and that goes back to the SIAC days. Of course, Jackson State was never in the SIAC, but the other three were SIAC foes. Look at the buzz around Tuskegee with the fact that they are going to be traveling to Grambling this year. And as a Tuskegee alum, Tuskegee fans would much rather see Tuskegee playing in Grambling than Tuskegee playing in Allen. So TSU and Tuskegee to the SWAC will be fired. I totally agree with you, Kelvin. Tennessee State and Tuskegee going to the SWAC would be fired. And that's the other variable out there. Does Tennessee State make a move and come where they should be naturally, which is in the SWAC, or do they continue to be in the OBC? So there's a lot of different variables out there that you would have to look at. Brian, I don't know how much of the conversation that you caught while I was talking about Tuskegee, Morehouse, and Howard, and we've even thrown Tennessee State back into the conversation of coming into the SWAC, which would be a nice variable to add into it. Does Tuskegee go east or Tuskegee go west? West being the SWAC, east being the MEAC. Or Tuskegee and Morehouse married to each other like FAMU and Bethune were, making the same move to the conferences twice. Remember, FAMU and Bethune left the SIC together to join the MEAC. They left the MEAC together to join the SWAC. And the 1 or 2 years back in the 80s when FAMU decided to leave the MEAC, things didn't work out and they came back together. Same thing, Alabama A&M, Alabama State, Jackson State, Alcorn. There are certain institutions that are married to each other. The marriage that has been broken up, we've seen 2 marriages broken up within the last 5 years. That being Central A&T and Howard Hampton. But Howard Hampton really wasn't a marriage.
Those two marriages have still managed to exist
in separate conferences.
Exactly.
So it would a Tuskegee Morehouse marriage tend to exist, because it makes, I'm just saying, it makes sense for Morehouse, if they're going to go up, to wind up in the MEAC. If Tuskegee goes up, it makes more sense for them to go into the SWAC.
I agree.
And then you've got that big fish out there still, Brian. We've talked about Morehouse. We've talked about Tuskegee. We've thrown Tennessee State out there. But what happens to Clark Atlanta? Clark Atlanta are 2 institutions. And if you understand the research portion of this, you'll understand why now Clark Atlanta is private.
Oh, I'm sorry. Clark is private. Okay. Did not.
Yeah,
okay.
Clark Atlanta is private. But if you understand that portion of it and what an R2 institution would do to either one of these conferences, as far as their research, grants, and their offerings, partnerships with students, internships, et cetera, especially in that Atlanta market, as attractive as Morehouse and as sexy as Morehouse is in Atlanta, the bigger fish is Clark Atlanta. And when you think about it, Brian, and I'm gonna turn it over to you. If you talk Tuskegee, Morehouse, and Clark Atlanta, you're talking 4 of the charter members of the SIAC. You say 4, AD, you only named 3 schools. Let's not forget. Clark College and Atlanta University merged together in the 80s. And as separate institutions, they were charter members of the SIAC back in 1913, along with Tuskegee and Morehouse.
Oh, didn't know that. You talking about marriages, then I would think the Morehouse Clark marriage is a bigger marriage.
But that's really not a marriage. They just happen to be living on the same block, Brian. That's not a marriage.
I disagree because because what it is you have the travel partners, and you also have an institution that has women's sports.
A Tuskegee Clark going to the same conference makes a hell of a lot more sense on the Division I level than, I'm gonna be honest, than Tuskegee Morehouse.
Okay.
If you want to maintain those travel partners, it's less than a 2-hour ride from Epps to Chappie James.
Please show me a football program that's been playing for over 110 years.
I didn't mean to put it down.
Decided, big boy status. I mean, maybe not 110 years. I mean, there were schools that may have been 80 or 90 years that went. I mean, I don't know.
All right. How many schools are in the SWAC? Oh, go ahead.
No, how many schools are in the SIAC, and the moves will put the risk that the MEAC is currently in?
First of all, the SIAC gonna be all right. SIAC has 15 institutions right now, and they are looking to add more. Yeah. Now, here's the thing. It's more important for the MEAC to get those teams to come to the MEAC than it is for the SWAC to expand. I'm just talking out loud. Haven't had this type of conversation with Dr. McClellan, but if I'm Dr. Charles McClellan, I want Clark Atlanta. And if I have to I won't say but if I can get a Tuskegee to balance out Clark Atlanta, or a Tennessee State to balance out Clark Atlanta, I would do it. The problem would be, would a conference with the prominence of the SWAC be willing to take on not 1, but 2 institutions moving from Division II to FCS? Let's think about that, y'all. That's a lot to ask, especially in the divisional format that the SWAC has, where geographically both of those institutions would be in the same division if you continue with the divisional format.
Well, I was going to say, at that point, you might even get away from the divisional formats, which is now
you would almost have it.
Yeah, that's becoming a thing now. You're hearing a lot of conferences are moving away from the divisional or format.
But if you added 2 Division IIs on the same side, you would almost have to get away from the divisional format.
I don't know if you go 2 Division IIs, to be honest with you, Drew. I mean, I know.
That's the conversation.
I just think, if obviously you made a great presentation for Clark, but that Tennessee State Nashville market has got to be way more appealing than, I don't even know what market Tuskegee sits in.
Tuskegee falls in the Montgomery DMA.
Okay, so
but then you've already got Alabama State.
Yeah, you got State
So
and A&M, you know, and I think bringing in the Nashville, which is right off of 65, so it has a natural travel partner, or not travel partner, but a travel road
Yeah,
to
Atlanta is,
already.
I mean, Atlanta is 75, 85, 20, and 20.
Major cities.
Right.
cities.
And don't forget, 75 takes you to where, Brian? 75, you go 75 to 24, you in Nashville.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Tennessee State makes the most sense.
Nashville, Atlanta makes the most sense.
It does,
for the SWAC. Which institution you get. And I'm gonna be honest with you. If I'm the SWAC, I don't want those headaches of an unbalanced schedule, men and women. By taking the Morehouse, you've got unbalanced schedules on your women's side. You don't want those. Trust me, having lived those headaches, you don't want those headaches.
Yeah, but if you move past division, I mean, I don't know if they already did, but you can move past divisions and just do open play. Because, for example, there's some women's sports that two schools don't have. I mean, Florida A&M and Bethune don't play soccer, which is a SWAC sport that the other kid members do.
Sponsor. Right.
You know, so you've already got those kind of scenarios.
Yeah. Clark Atlanta got to adhere to Title IX. They don't have enough sports right now. None of these institutions that we talked about moving up have enough sports right now. So that's going to be the common theme for all three of those schools that we're talking about.
Yeah, I agree about none.
Why would the SWAC move away from the division format? You asked for major travel costs, which increases one of the reasons we left the MEAC. I'm saying with the divisional format, if two Division twos, the Division twos that we are talking about, were to come into the SWAC, they would both wind up being on the east side of the conference. That would be a competitive advantage, in theory, to the other people on the east side during those first 3 to 5 years that they would come in. So would the people in the West go for that, knowing that they would have a competitive advantage by having those two transitioning Division twos on their schedule? If I'm a Prairie View A&M, I'm not going for it.
Well, yeah, okay, that's one school that might have a problem with it. The same way Bethune-Cookman might have a problem being the first. See, Bethune-Cookman being the furthest east and Prairie View being the furthest west. I mean, they're kind of on islands on two ends of the spectrum.
I guarantee you Bethune would much rather go to Atlanta than to Houston.
Well, yeah. But eventually you'll want to go there, even if it was once every 3 years. You know, there's a way to do it. I just think, you know, there are ways to do it. And to answer the question regarding travel costs, adding Nashville and Atlanta, or doing away with division,
two markets easy to fly into.
Hey, first off, nothing will again, traveling from Florida to Delaware, DC, Baltimore. I'm sorry. There's no comparison. I mean, maybe going to Texas is the comparison. Maybe. But I don't know. I have to do the mileage chart on that and see what is the mileage from Tallahassee to Delaware, Wilmington. Is it Wilmington? Wilmington, Delaware, and Baltimore, Maryland, Washington, D.C.
Brian, this for Bethune, an hour to Orlando or an hour to Jacksonville and a commuter flight to Atlanta. And from Atlanta to Orlando is just over. Is about what, about an hour 15 flight, if I remember correctly.
Right.
It's just over an hour.
Yeah. All right. So from what I have read and heard, it seems like these rumors and this proposal, this proposed move, might be something that happens in the summer. So I mean, we potentially might see something announced in the summer. Is that kind of what you're hearing, Drew, in terms of whether Morehouse is officially going to move into the MEAC? I would love to see some of the cost analysis on that too.
That's what I want to see. Ryan, when I start hearing chirping at board meetings, then that's when I'll start. Looking at it. But with the the three institutions that we're talking about being private institutions, there's only so much information that they have to put out publicly.
Exactly.
To us. So, but just pay attention when Morehouse, Tuskegee, and Clark Atlanta have their next board of trustees meeting, and pay attention to the agenda and see if that type of stuff is on the agenda. When it comes to it. The one thing, yeah, they usually make the agenda public. But here's the thing, Brian, you've got to have a president or a board member who's pushing this move in order for it to even have a conversation.
Right.
You've got to have an athletic director who knows how to make this move in order to have this conversation. That doesn't mean he has to have experience in doing it, but he has to have the know-how to do it. So without those two, everything that we're talking is conjecture. It's a non-starter until you get to that point. But I know Clark Atlanta's president has been talking about it. Tuskegee, don't expect that to happen anytime within the next, it'll be at least a year before Tuskegee would even consider that, considering they're going to a presidential search right now. So when you see the new president at Tuskegee, then you can start filling out that person, he or she, as far as how that's going to go with athletics. So Morehouse, we know is out there with Morehouse. So Morehouse is considering it. So
okay,
Tuskegee, minimum of a year away.
Okay, let me move us forward.
Let's do rapid fire to get through.
Who is left? What schools are left?
Left as far as
doesn't have a head coach yet, head football coach.
Let me pull back up.
I think St. Augustine.
Well, St. Augustine has an interim. I think he's going to wind up taking a job, but they've never officially announced that he's going to either remain the interim for the next year or stay where he's at.
Gotcha.
Remove the tag and make him permanent. You've got Bluefield State.
Okay, Bluefield State. Yep. We learned that that their coach was resigned or let go. What was that we learned last week about that?
Let go.
Okay.
And that was based on a difference in some philosophies. Bluefield State, new program.
Yeah, everybody's on the same page.
Yeah, and I think maybe they were moving. How go your eyes are bigger than your stomach? Mm-hmm. I think that's a classic case with Bluefield State when it came to what happened there. They wanted to start this program.
Is that something you're hearing that
Go ahead.
what you heard that the university wanted to go do more, and the head coach was maybe trying to slowly build? Is that what you've heard?
I think it was the exact opposite.
Okay. Coach wanted to move faster than what the school was ready.
The head coach do what he needed to do in order to. You asked me to cook this 4-course meal, but you're not giving me, you're giving me Wonder Bread for my rolls. But you want me to cook a 4-star dinner, but you give me Wonder Bread to work with.
No shade to Wonder Bread, by the way. Okay. We don't want anybody to think we don't like or didn't grow up on Wonder Bread. Okay, nothing wrong with.
Can I at least get some Kings?
No,
can you at least give me some King's Hawaiian rolls, man? Can I at least get some King's Hawaiian rolls?
I have to protect this. There is nothing wrong with Wonder Bread. We love Wonder Bread. Wonder Bread has served the community well. Drew's out there poo-pooing on Wonder Bread. Jesus, we can get us in trouble out here. Okay. While we're talking football,
let's go rapid fire. So we just tried to get out of here, man.
Yeah, National Signing Day is coming up on Wednesday. National Signing Day is coming up on Wednesday. Now, the early signing day rankings. Now, this was from HBCUSports.com. I went back and looked, found their article. They recapped the top 5 early signing day rankings among HBCU. Now, this is Division I schools. Morgan State was 5. Alcorn State was 4. Alabama State was 3. Jackson State 2. Florida A&M was 1. Now, that was early signing period. At the time, I think Alcorn was just going through the change, or maybe Cedric Tillman was just named the coach, maybe
a week before. I think it was about a week before.
And Florida A&M, Willie Simmons was the head coach, and then obviously he resigned. And then a month later, you had, so a week later he resigned, and a month later you get a new coach. So these are 24/7 Sports. I went through their composite signing day projections. Now they rank everybody, and their rating system is all based on stars and the number of commits that are certain numbers of stars. But what they also factor into their composite number is their transfers, because obviously schools will pick up transfers that will factor into this signing day period and improve. So these are numbers that they have recorded. Now, obviously, there's other sites out there. Rivals, I think Rivals is still around. But those are the 2 primary scouting services that most people lean on, right? 24/7 and Rivals. So 24/7, these are the top 5 HBCUs according to overall rankings amongst Division I programs. Number 5 right now, Grambling comes in at number 5. They have 11 commits, including a 3-star currently committed. Now their transfer rank was 120. Okay, now again, this is out of 300 some odd Division I programs, FCS and FBS. Grambling comes in at school 166 amongst 300 some odd schools. Florida A&M comes in at number 4 according to 27 Sports. Now this is as of today, so obviously this could change in the next 3 days between now and signing day. They have Florida A&M with 11 commits, including a 1 3-star. They also have a transfer rank of 100, which is better than any of the HBCUs in this top 5 that I'm going to tell you about. Also, what I didn't see, and I had to confirm this with Marcus. I did not see, and I say Marcus Green, who oversees a lot of our recruiting information on the ONG Strike Zone. Florida, they did not have Damari Tate, who's a 5-star defensive back who signed back in the early period under FAMU's page. Now, I don't know. And according to Marcus, he hasn't seen anything that says Damari is not still committed to FAMU. So, with that said, number 3 is Bethune-Cookman. They come in at 149 overall. By the way, FAMU came at 159 overall. Bethune comes in 149 overall. They are number 3. They have right now 17 commits, including 2 3-stars. I have to look. Is one of those 3-stars Rick Ross's son? I think, Rick Ross, his son, who is an offensive lineman for St. Thomas Aquinas down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. It's a hell of a program, by the way. They put out dudes.
They put out pros.
They put out pros. But anyway, he's an offensive lineman. He committed to Bethune. I don't know if he's one of those 3 stars or not. Number 2 overall was Tennessee State University, number 146 overall. They have 9 commits and 2 3-star athletes. Their transfer rank is also ranked 120. And number 1 right now, according to 247 Sports, the top HBCU recruiting program is Jackson State. They're ranked 135 overall. 17 commits right now, including 3 3-stars. Their transfer rank, though, is still 120. So, again, this is the latest from 24/7 Sports. Their top 5 HBCUs are Jackson State, Tennessee State, Bethune-Cookman, Florida A&M, and Grambling. And so those schools run from 135 overall to 166 overall. So just I put that out there to kind of give us something to kind of look at and pay attention to when signing day. Credit to a lot of schools do a great job of posting information. So I would encourage you follow the Black College Sports Network at MyBCSN1, the number 1 on Twitter. Actually, I've even created a profile. What's it called? A list. You can follow our list. I mean, if you want to see what HBCU football programs, their Twitter handles. I mean, I've got them all aggregated via our Twitter account. So if you go to our Twitter page, go under list, you'll see our HBCU football programs. And that'd be a great way to follow. I think JSU, Jackson State was number 1 last year with 24/7. I think so. So it is what it is. One other thing, Drew, I told you I was toying around with the 2024 schedule. Looking at just the SWAC games that were released. The 8-game SWAC schedule. Not looking at the whole season. Just looking at the SWAC season. Which 2 schools? I'm gonna ask you these questions. Which 2 schools do you think have the easiest SWAC schedule? One in the East, one in the West are very similar in terms of.
Oh, and I don't have the full thing. I need to see the full schedule. But you just want me to go off the top of my head.
Well, hold on. Okay.
Not your numbers, just the graphic.
Okay. Let me see. Okay, not that. Let me see. I think I got it here. I think I saved it here on an old card. There we go. All right, there we go. That's what you're talking about, right? All right. Emmett Jones says Jackson State. Again, I'm saying the easiest schedule. Emmett, Jackson State is close. They're in the top 3rd. Not the easiest, though. So I've kind of spoiled it there. I'm taking that one away from you.
It has loaded on my screen. I don't know if.
Oh, I got it up on the. Oh, you don't see it on the actual broadcast?
No, I'm waiting on it. There it is. It's just, it was like maybe my internet buffering. It wasn't loading. And this is based on 2023 records, correct?
It is based on 2023 results, win-loss record from 2023. So I mean, take that with a grain of salt. Who do you guys out there in the chat room? Who do you think has the easiest schedule
Ooh, let's see.
I'm not gonna post anybody in the chat room, but I will say bingo. Kelvin's got one of them.
I was gonna say, let's see. No.
One in the East, one in the West.
Alabama A&M in the East.
No. How about in the West? I'll give you one guess in the West.
The G.
No. What'd you say?
Grambling.
The G? Grambling?
Yes.
Yes. Up. They're in the upper third. They're in the upper third as well, but no, not the easiest. So the easiest overall belongs to Alcorn. Easiest SWAC schedule overall based on 2023 results. Their opponents last year had an overall percentage of 41.6%. That was the win percentage of their opponents last year. The second easiest belongs to the defending champs, FAMU. Yeah, 42.7 is the win percentage of their opponents from 2023.
And everyone asked a good question. Go ahead and explain that again, Brian.
So again, these are based on the records from last season, which is right now the only metric that I'm using. I'm not factoring in new coaches and things of that nature. I'm not factoring in transfers. I'm basing it on last year's win percentage. Okay. And again, yes, Jackson State and Grambling and Jackson State both came in the top third. How about hardest? How about this? Who has the hardest schedule based on win percentage from their opponents last year? Hardest overall schedule.
One East, one West.
Well, it's
or the top two in the same division.
No, it's really a runaway for they're in the same division, but one of them. Well, actually, no. You know what? I can't go one East, one West because there are two of them that are very similar. One East, one West. One East, one West. Edwin Moore, Emmett.
How about Valley? How about Valley in the East?
Ding, ding, ding. I'll give you that one. You are correct. Valley is in the East. Yes, has the toughest schedule. Their opponents last year were 49 and 42. That's a 53.8 win percentage last year, overall record last year for the opponents that Valley plays this year.
How about Texas Southern in the West?
Ding, ding, ding. Look at you. Got number 2 right. 48 and 43, 52.7%. Texas Southern. Yeah, so that's the toughest overall among all 8 games. All 8 games, right? Okay, let's break it down a little bit differently here. Cross division. Now, those 3 cross division games can sometimes factor into your overall success, right? So who do you think in the East has the easiest cross division schedule? The 3 teams, the easiest. In the East, who has the easiest cross division matchups?
Nope, not them.
What do you guys think out there? Let me see something. Let me see some answers there in the chat. Who has the easiest cross division matchup in the East?
I don't know about the East, but I can tell you who the hardest in the East is.
Well, hold that because I will ask. I'm curious to see if you get that right. Already, Kelvin and EA coming in. You guys are on point there. You guys are on point. I'll tell you, it's Jackson State with the easiest cross division. Jackson State plays Alcorn, UAPB, and Texas Southern combined 12-21. That's a 36.4% win percentage. Easiest, second easiest belongs to Alabama A&M, 13-20. They play UAPB, Grambling, and Southern. Now, who did you say? You said you thought you knew who the hardest in the East. Who has the hardest cross-divisional matchups in the East? Who do you think that is?
No, God dog it. Who did I say? Who was I looking at? But it might be Bethune. Am I right?
No, it's not Bethune.
Not Bethune.
Not Bethune. Hardest cross-divisional schedule. Win percentage 52.9%.
Oh, Alabama State.
That is Alabama State, correct.
Yeah, Alcorn, Grambling, Prairie View. I mean, those were the three teams that were fighting the last weekend trying to get into the playoffs.
And funny is that is the only cross division school in the East that has the win percentages is over 50%, right? So they play the three, best performing teams from a year ago: Alcorn, Grambling, and Prairie View.
Yeah, all three of those were in the hunt the last week. Yeah. Waiting on one to lose and one to win.
Yeah, and what's interesting is two of those three are on the what road? Okay, over to
in the West.
Yeah, in the West. Who has the easiest? Who has the easiest?
No, I thought we were doing the hardest.
Well, we can go to the hardest. Who has the hardest? It shouldn't be hard.
Yeah, that's what we just said. We just said who has the hardest.
Well, we were doing both cross division. Oh. So again, Doc, I'm basing this on ease being the performance, the 2023 records. So the win-loss percentage from a year ago. I'm basing that on 2023 numbers. Yeah. Who has the hardest cross-divisional schedule in the West? PV is close. EA, not quite.
I was looking at that one, but that was not my final answer.
Close. Yeah, Kelvin, Demetra, good answers. 62.9% the win percentage of the cross-division opponents for this school.
That was my other one that I was looking at.
I'll tell you who it is. You saw who it is? Oh,
yeah, I saw who it was.
Texas.
Yeah, I was looking at them. Well, it's I hate to say it was kind of easy to pull Texas Southern out of it, because number one, you started off with who does FAMU play in the cross division? If you just try and do math, just trying to go through quickly, and then you look and see, all right, do they have either Jackson State or Alabama State on their schedule next?
Correct.
Those are two teams I was looking at.
Yeah.
So,
but what pushes Texas Southern is where Prairie View gets to play Valley, Texas Southern has to play Bethune.
Correct.
Yeah. And what's interesting is nobody plays a gauntlet that includes FAMU, Alabama State, and Jackson State. So that no everyone is spared. There's no combination that comes up with a cross division of all three of those teams. That would be brutal.
So Brian, and maybe I see Dr. Cavill on here. Who is Texas Southern's permanent lock cross division? Texas Southern and Prairie View.
Wouldn't it be? Well, who have they played every year?
That's what I know off the top of my head, because I know it's like FAMU and Southern, Jackson State.
But I don't think that's how it works. I don't think it works quite. Yeah,
they have one permanent opponent from the opposite division. FAMU and Southern. Southern is and FAMU are permanent opponents based on the current scheduling matrix.
Edwin says nobody. I don't.
Because I know Southern and FAMU is locked. It's a lock.
Well, okay. Let's
as far as conference.
Well, let's play that game that we're going to play because I don't think it works that way. Because who is Alabama A&M's?
That's why I'm asking that question because I don't.
Yeah. See, and now Edwin says FAM and Southern, Jackson and Alcorn are the only two permanent opponents.
Okay, then maybe I'll stand corrected.
Right. And I think that's because the other rivals are within the division, within their division. You know, Alabama, Alabama State, Grambling, Southern. You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
Just so everyone knows, the easiest cross divisional matchups goes to UAPB. That's 13 and 20, 39%. They avoid FAMU. They get to play Valley. They play Alabama A&M, and they play Jackson State. So I took it even further, obviously, right? Because I was really into myself here as I was doing this. How about?
I thought I was a number. Wait a minute, hold on. I thought I was a number nerd on this show.
Yeah, right. You inspired me. You've inspired me. Home opponents record. Who has the easiest and toughest home SWAC schedule?
Home is in the black for everybody.
Right. Home is in the black.
That's definitely got to be FAMU on the east.
Easiest?
Yes.
Bingo. It is FAMU. Easiest home opponents
in the east
this year in the east. Their opponents were 15 and 29 last year.
Because 3 of their 4 opponents are under 500.
Yes.
At home.
Yeah. And over on the West, you might be able to figure it out in the West.
Would that be UAPB?
It is. It is UAPB. Their opponents were 15 and 30. And so they have Alabama A&M coming to town. They've got Valley coming to town. They have Grambling. No, check it. They've got Prairie View and Texas Southern coming to town. Now, this might be interesting to you. Who has the toughest home SWAC schedule? Like, and it's not even. I looked at the
Alabama State.
Toughest? No, actually, no.
No, Bethune.
No, not somebody even has a tougher one than Bethune.
Bethune is not nice.
No, it's not. It's not.
Everybody was over 500.
Yeah, there's 3 home games combined. They only have 3 home games though. 3 home games among SWAC opponents. 19 and 14 where they're combined. Somebody has an even more daunting
on the east side,
west side.
Overall,
they're on the west side.
They're on the west side. So is Bethune the east winner? Will Bethune be the east winner?
Yes, Bethune on the east would be the east winner. Toughest home conference opponents.
Oh, PV, shit.
Yes, indeed. It's PV. It is PV. What a challenging home schedule that Prairie View A&M has. Not only do they host FAMU, they host Alcorn, they host Southern, and let me see. I think is that it? No, I think
they got 3. They only got 3. Yes,
3.
Only has
and that's 3. That's 3 games. That's 3. Yeah. That's pretty interesting. No, they've got Texas Southern as well. They host Texas Southern at home.
No, Texas Southern is away for them. They go to Texas Southern. PV is great.
No, it's at Prairie View.
I'm looking at the matrix. It has it in gray.
But look at PV's. It's in gray as well. And according to FBS schedules is where I was looking. Now, I didn't go to the Prairie View website.
I was just looking at the graphic that you have on the screen.
The graphic, for whatever reason, the graphic doesn't show that Prairie View is actually the host of that Labor Day Classic this year.
Okay.
This
Then,
past season.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That was the one thing I hate about SWAC scheduling is that all of the prime home games are either at home or on the road. So you have a good year and then an unattractive year. I guess it's saying that it's not balanced with the attractiveness of the home game.
What is interesting, because of the neutral site games, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 7 schools who are only playing 3 home games. SWAC.
But that's gonna happen every year because of the neutral site classics. That's gonna flip every year between those classic opponents.
Okay.
I mean, FAMU has it since they play in conference classic.
Right. You're right.
The Bayou is going to happen every year with that. So those two, and then the State Fair. It's going to happen with and then of course you got Magic City. It's going to happen in those four situations every year between one team or the other.
And Grambling and Alabama State actually have 2 neutral site games on there. Obviously, you can see that there. They have 2 neutral. So they play 3 home, 3 away, 2 neutral among their 8 SWAC games.
Yeah, Grambling has the 2, State Fair and the Bayou. And that's typical for Grambling. And then who you said the other one was?
What?
With 2 neutral sites?
Alabama State. Alabama State.
Who's Alabama State's second?
They're playing Jackson State down in Mobile.
All right, so they haven't fixed that. They haven't updated that on this graphic here.
Oh, is that? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it's still the Alabama State home game on here.
Okay. Yeah, but so it's an Alabama State home game that they're playing it down in Mobile.
Right.
According to what I saw on the FBS schedules. So the one last thing is you told me to go do road opponents since I went down this rabbit hole to do road opponents. Who has the easiest and toughest road schedules? Now, what's interesting about this is there's several schools who have very easy road contests. And I'm talking like their opponents' win-loss record was -14, -13, -16. And then there are a couple schools who have very hard road schedules. But I'll stick to contenders. Now, we already mentioned that Prairie View has a very challenging home opponent contest, right? But they have quite the opposite when they go on the road. They have a very, very friendly road schedule. Their opponents last year were 15-31, which, you can do the math, but that's on the road traveling to Grambling, UAPB, Valley, and Alabama State. 15-31. Bethune-Cookman also has a very, very friendly road schedule. Their opponents were 15-29 last year. So the 4 games when they go out on the road, their opponents, Southern, Texas Southern, Valley, and Alabama A&M. Now, in terms of the hardest road schedule amongst the SWAC 8 games, now you could pretty much expect Valley to be one of those teams, which they are. You'd probably guess correctly if you said UAPB. But the one that I found real interesting going on the road, Florida A&M, 20-14, their road opponents last year. So when they go on the road, their road schedule includes Texas Southern. No, I'm sorry. It includes Prairie View
for homecoming.
Jackson State, Alabama
Is that homecoming?
No, Alabama State is homecoming.
Okay, so 2 of those 3 games are homecoming.
Exactly. Alabama State homecoming, Prairie View homecoming, and then they travel to Jackson State. 50,000 people will be in attendance for that one. So, welcome to the SWAC, Coach Colsey. But yeah, so I just thought I'd do that. That was kind of fun. I'll kind of look at as I get a chance, I'll dig deeper and throw in the rest of the schedule. And then, you know, as the rest of the MEAC schedules get filled out, as Tennessee State, A&T, which I don't know if those schedules are out completely or not, but they probably are. We'll get a chance to talk about those. Okay.
All right.
Final thought. Final notes here. Any final notes you want to get to? I know. I just wanted to mention 3 things regarding basketball. What did you?
I was just gonna go down and do some rapid fire on basketball. That you can stop me on something that you want to bring out.
Gotcha. Go ahead. You go rapid fire. Yeah. See what you got. Now, any and all that stuff. By the way, if you're looking at our sheet, I haven't updated everything there, so
okay,
be mindful of that.
All right, I do know Langston lost their first game of the season.
Yes,
lost Southwest Mississippi Cigars 72 58, or swag U, as I like to call them, if you throw the W in there. Yeah. But they did bounce back and win on Saturday 72-51. A&T women, quietest story out there. A&T women first place in the CAA, winners of 8 straight, 11 of their last 12. And do we have a result from today, Brian?
They won. That's part of that 8. They won today.
That is part of that. Okay, I didn't know if we had that update.
Yeah, they won today.
I'm only reporting it because I am contractually obligated as a member of the media to report that Alabama A&M came from 17 down to defeat in the 4th quarter to defeat FAMU 71-69. Moving on. Benedict, ranked number 15 in D2 right now.
I don't know if that's still current though. I mean, I haven't. Again, that's one of those ones I didn't update.
They have one of those the ones that so we're gonna do that.
Actually, I got that. They're actually up. They're up to number 11. I'm looking at the latest NABC coaches. They're up from 15 to number 11, according to the NABC coaches. And then if I go quickly, I can't get there quickly. All right, so we'll leave it at that.
So you're gonna leave it at that, huh?
Yeah, because the coaches poll, I pull up the other media site, and it's a strange site. My web filter doesn't like it. So let me get this on. Yeah, it's like blocked, not saved, whatever.
I'll quickly go down to NAIA rankings. Langston was number 2, but these rankings came out before Langston lost their game, and the next ones don't come out until I believe it's the 14th. Yes, the next rankings don't come out in NAIA until the 14th. So Langston is sitting at number 2. Florida Memorial is sitting at 17. So, and Talladega is receiving votes. And see if Xavier is still in there. Looks like Xavier has dropped out. So, but we do have Texas College receiving votes. So we've got two ranked, 2 receiving votes in the latest NAIA basketball poll.
Is Texas College? So Texas College is part of the Red River, right?
Correct. The Red River.
And that's
they defeated Xavier.
Yeah, they're still in 2nd place in the division. Actually, Texas College now sits 1. I'm looking at the latest standings. in the Red River. Texas College sits one game out of first place. LSU Alexandria is in first. And Xavier sits 2 games out of first place, 1 game behind Texas College that you just mentioned. So, yeah, should be an interesting tournament coming up. See who can get that 1 seed. Can anybody wrestle that 1 seed away from LSU Alexandria?
And I'll quickly see if I can pull up the Division 2 polls, Ryan.
For the women?
You can talk for a moment. Yeah, I'm gonna pull up Division 2 right quick. If you want to talk for a second.
Well, let me go back to the SWAC women's standings, because obviously Jackson State took care of Grambling State over the weekend to create a little separation. Jackson State still sitting at 8-0. UAPB moved into solid second place in the conference, 6-2. They've won 3 straight games. Now, this is why that FAMU game hurt, the women losing to Alabama A&M. And I know they were short a couple people. That was a game in which you had one young lady from Alabama A&M drop 30 in a win, and the other young lady for FAMU, Ariana Grizzle, she dropped 31 in the loss. I think that might be the first time all season that you had 2 30-point scores in a game.
But what was unique about that game, Brian?
What was unique? When you go back and look, I'm kind of going off of recollection here because I'm trying to pull up the box score.
Wasn't the game like a double or a triple OT?
No. That game was regulation.
That was not the overtime game?
No. That FAMU played that triple overtime game against Grambling. No, the third quarter.
Okay, I was trying to remember.
Florida A&M outscored Alabama A&M 27-7 in the third quarter. Right? That's a 20-point margin, right? In the fourth quarter,
correct,
the Lady Bulldogs outscored FAMU 35-16. I mean, when you go and look at the percentages, Drew, I don't even think you can look at the FAMU side. You just got to go look at A&M. A&M in the third quarter, they shot 3 of 18 overall from the field, 1 of 7 from the arc. In the fourth quarter, so look, Drew, I'm going to go back a second. The second quarter, the Bulldogs shot 2 of 15. That's 13% in the second quarter. In the third quarter, they were 3 of 18, shooting 16.67%. Then in the fourth, did I even tell you what they did in the first quarter, Drew? They were 5 of 15 in the first quarter. No. And then all of a sudden, in the fourth quarter, and this is, look, I don't know how they did it. If somebody had did some highlights of the whole game, or if I didn't have to pay to see it, I would watch it. In the fourth quarter, they shot 70%, 14 of 20 from the field, including 6 of 10 3-pointers. You may never see a quarter like that ever again. FAMU didn't even shoot that well in the third quarter when they outscored Alabama A&M. That was purely Alabama A&M not being able to score the ball for 3 quarters, and then all of a sudden just caught fire. I mean,
all right.
Yeah. So where I was going with the standings thing, in the women, that loss. So what it did was between FAMU and Alabama State, who are both 3-5 in conference, there is between the between the number 3 team, you got 3 teams at 5-3, 2 teams at 4-4, 2 teams at 3-5. So that's your top 1, 2, let's see, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's your top 9. And this upcoming Monday, Alabama State and A&M play, Florida A&M play. Somebody might find themselves sitting below that Mendoza line, of that cutoff line, and it's going to have a hard time climbing their way back into the top 8. But yeah.
All right, quickly, Brian, so we can get up out of here. NAIA women, there are no HBCUs in the top 25. Receiving votes is Russ, which would be at 26, 27, 28, 29, which would be at number 30 if we had to count those out. And that would, and Langston is also receiving votes about maybe about 10 spots behind Rust. So we've got Langston and Rust in the receiving votes in NAIA. Moving on to Division II, we've got 2 HBCUs that are in the top 25. Top one is Virginia State at 17-2, and Miles at 15-1. They'll come in at 18. Virginia State 16, Miles 18. No one is receiving votes out of the HBCU ranks on the Division II level. Right.
Hey, can I give a shout out to that Wednesday matchup between Fayetteville State and Claflin? One of those games that we talked about on last week's show.
Yes.
Getting a chance to watch that game. Now, obviously, I was prepping for the O&G on Wednesday, but I enjoyed being able to go to Fayetteville's site, fsubroncos.com, and watch that game. The men and women are both like first and second place in the Southern Division. Fayetteville got the sweep, I believe, on both sides. So right now, their women are sitting in first place by the pure nature of being 5-1 over Claflin. And I think the men, the Fayetteville State men are also in first place over Claflin. So, but just shout out to Fayetteville State. Shout out to the CIAA. I mean, I enjoy being able to go and watch these games. Now, you talk about that network, that CIAA Sports Network, they got that thing figured out. They may charge during the tournament, which makes sense. I mean, their CIAA tournament is a big draw, but they draw you in during the year. They get you interested. They get you watching. And then obviously, guess what? What do you want to do? You're more likely to, I'll tell you, the CIAA tournament this year, Drew, is going to be amazing. I really, when I look at each, there's at least 5 teams, maybe even 6 on both sides, the men and women, that are playing really high-level basketball. It's going to be interesting to see who comes out of that. There are going to be some great crowds in, where are they playing at? Are they still in Baltimore?
Yes.
Yeah, still in Baltimore. So
yes.
I just had to give that shout out.
All right. So Brian, I was going to say, since we started off talking about streaming, media, and networks, conference networks, and everything, and since we have come full circle back to that point, I think that's a good place to pick up this show and get out of here.
It is. Again, I just got to mention the SWAC men. You've got all 8 schools. Let's see, Southern and Grambling are sitting in first place. But
everybody's bunched up there together.
The top 8 are all within 2 games of each other. I mean, if Alcorn State is your 8th seed right now at 4-4, and Southern is 6-2, that could change. Next time we get together, that whole standing thing could look completely different. And then so obviously we got that. We didn't really talk much about the MEAC. I will, if you give me a second here, I will just mention that Norfolk State and North Carolina Central are still in first place on the men's side, both creating a little bit of separation. They're 5-1. Delaware State has lost 3 in a row. I think that's pretty significant. Of course, any of you who watched that game, Howard lost a game to Hampton that they probably shouldn't have lost. So I know that one stings. Speaking of Hampton men, did you see any of the highlights from that loss to North Carolina A&T on Thursday?
No, I did not, Brian.
Oh my God. All I can say is Club Corbett was special. I mean, it's a pretty intense crowd. I read somewhere, Drew, that the analytics give, in terms of best home courts advantages, A&T is ranked right up there with some Power 6 programs in terms of home court advantage. Like, you know, if you say the home court advantage is a 2.5, maybe even 3, A&T gets like 3.8, somewhere like that. Like it's pretty up there. It's significant. And the way they sent a couple of them Hampton guys that were really triggered at the end of that game after that loss, I mean, go check my timeline on my Twitter timeline. There's some guys who were put in some positions that your mama's going to see that. And your mama's going to see how you acted on the court. And then she's not going to be too happy with seeing how you acted on the court after the game. Like, boy, what's wrong with you? Why you let them cheerleaders and them fans get you all riled up like that? Random guys coming out shooting double birds to the fans and stuff. It's like, come on, bro. What are you doing?
Yes.
All right, that's it. Okay, I won't talk.
No. Quickly, says Coach Green is on here. Try to respect our coaches. Thank them for joining us. He asked us, can we talk quickly about some GCAC? I'll quickly go down the GCAC standings. I'm starting to become a fan of the pod play for the GCAC. Right now, my plans are to catch part of the GCAC tournament that will be held in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and I believe that is scheduled for that last week of February, first weekend, up through the first weekend in March when they play. I know the championship game is that first Sunday in March. So I think it begins like the 28th of February there in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. So I'll quickly go down the standings in the GCAC. On the men's side, you've got Philander in first place. They are 11-2 in conference. Tougaloo is right behind them, 1.5 game back at 10-2. Dega is third, 8-2. Fisk, 7-5. And Wiley is 7-6, followed by Pseudo, Russ, Dillard, UVI, and Oakwood. And if we quickly switch over to women.
Coach Green said they did away with the pod system, Drew.
Oh, they're not doing the weekend pods anymore?
No, it doesn't look like
it. Good. Yeah, that's a good bad thing, because now it kind of increases the travel. The travel is different, and I sometimes I wonder how some of these teams with their budget, if having to have road games at the UVI. Just put it out there like that. All right, quickly going over to the women's side. No wonder Coach Green wanted me to talk about.
Hold on, before you jump to the women, can I ask you a question regarding the men?
Yes.
Can you be the player of the year in a conference when you are the second leading scorer in the conference, the leading rebounder by like a ridiculous margin, but your team is second from last in the standings? Can you be the player of the year in the conference?
As a rapper,
Uh-oh.
I am ashamed that you are asking that question. I've got two words to you. I've got two words for you. Two words for you.
Mm-hmm.
Andre Dawson.
Okay. Okay.
And if those who don't know what I'm talking about, MVP on the last place club, Cubs, I believe that was 1987. So yes, it can happen. But you have to be such a freak statistically in order to justify it, which Andre Dawson was that year.
Keep your eye out for Jamal Gibson of SUNO, Southern University at New Orleans. Through 25 games this year, he's the second leading scorer in the conference, 20.4 game, shooting 52% from the field. He also has a league leading 16.3. That's right. I said 16.3 rebounds per game.
That's like Dennis Rodman Jr.
I don't know. I got to look and see where that falls. Hold on. I'm going to tell you where it falls among all conferences. Yeah, that's what I thought. He leads all of NAIA in rebounding at 16.3 a game.
By how much?
Overall in the NAIA by like half a rebound. There's another guy down at Kaiser who has a 15.9, but then there's nobody close. So it's really a two-man race for most rebounds. But again, he's averaging 20 and 16.
Do you know something, Brian? If he leads the conference in scoring by a point or more, I would consider it.
Okay.
He can't be second. He cannot be second in scoring.
He's second in scoring by about 1 point a game. There's a young man from Wiley that's at 21.
He has to make up. He has to make up that difference in order. If I was voting, he would have to make up that difference.
Okay.
Because he's on the last place team, Brian.
Yeah. Okay.
You have to give me freakish numbers.
I'd say that's pretty freakish. I mean, how many 16 point? I mean, really? I mean, they got 16, Drew. I mean, damn, that's a lot.
No, that's good. I mean, that's good. And I don't know what Philander has, is because they're in first place right now. So I haven't looked at their people individually to see who's leading them this year. But that's just blindly speaking. You would have to lead both scoring and rebounding in order for me to put you up there. Quickly going down the women's standing.
All right,
Russ, first place, 11-1 in conference, 19-3 overall. Philander 10-2, 17-5. Third place is Fisk, 10-2, 13-7. Dillard, 10-5, 11-11. Wiley, 6-7, 11-10. Followed by Oakwood, Tougaloo, Daga, Suno, and UVI brings up the rear at 1-10. So quickly, got it in for you, Coach Green.
And
we'll get one of y'all on the show. Hopefully sometime in February before we get to the tournament.
And on the women's side, Maya Buchanan. It's Buchanan. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Averaging a league leading 22.4 points a game. And
I know she's won National Player of the Week 1 week.
Yeah, I think she was the player of the year in the conference last year too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but I know she's won Player of the Week 1 week this season.
Nationally?
Nationally, yes.
Okay, yeah. And she leads the league.
I ain't gonna tell you I voted for her.
15.1 rebounds per game. That leads the league. Where
Wait a minute, time out. If y'all won by 70 versus Suno, oh my God, Coach Green, y'all doing that Grambling like stuff down there. Let me stop.
And Buchanan leads the nation in rebounds per game at 15.1. So 22 and 15 leads the nation in rebounding. Yeah. So just thought I'd mention while we were talking about if we want to really shout out these kids and let these folks know. And that's it. And she's at Fisk. And so Fisk, I think you said Fisk is in fourth place right now.
Third place.
Third? Okay. I was looking at something that said fourth. But okay.
Yeah. That we're actually they're tied for second. So
okay.
I'm assuming Philander has the tiebreak over, which is why they're listed third.
Gotcha. Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? I'm looking at the men. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Wrong site. All right, then. Okay, Drew. I think we can get out of here. Yeah, I think we can get out of here. It's been a fun, interesting show. Finding a way to get it done is the name. Now, next weekend is Super Bowl Sunday. Now, I'm a little bit smarter than okay, thank you. Thank you for going ahead and putting it out there.
We'll see you.
Hold on. Should we try to do a Saturday show? What's your Saturday looking like? Busy Saturday?
I work college athletics doing crossover season.
All right.
You go do the math.
Busy Saturday. Okay.
Busy Saturday.
There's no way.
The only thing is we decided to go early on Sunday.
I was gonna say, unless we did an early morning, like early.
Maybe, hold on.
Check the church. Check the church.
Did we check what schedule first?
Yeah.
No. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I possibly early on Sunday, but we definitely not doing our regular time slot.
All right.
Especially when my Chiefs playing.
There you go. Drew, see? People asking. Starting to ask, Drew. They're starting to ask. Thank you, Blue Jacket for life. I'm trying to talk to the computer analytics people now and figure out what's going on with our system. It's been down for a little bit, so it's been. Y'all told me
to go get a new Mac. I'm waiting. It's on layaway.
All right. So next week we may try to. I don't know. We need to try to figure out a way how to do the Super Bowl from an HBCU perspective. Maybe
we can't highlight the players that are in the Super Bowl. We can go over some Super Bowl players of the past.
Maybe even an all-time HBCU Super Bowl lineup. Just a thought. I don't know. If we have time. You're a busy guy these days, you know.
Oh my God.
All right. See, folks.
Ain't got a phone call about picking up another contract. So
Drew's busy. He stays busy. But thank you guys for watching the show. Appreciate all your thoughts and comments. You always we encourage you, if you do nothing else, whether you make a donation to the show, or you can do us a solid by sharing the show. Share it in your streams, whether you're on X, if you're on Instagram, or on Facebook, YouTube. Let people know about our show. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at MyBCSN1. Thank you for subscribing to our YouTube feed on the Jericho Broadcast Networks, or maybe you're watching us on our BCSN SportsWrap pages, YouTube, Facebook. Thank you for subscribing there as well. Hit the thumbs up and the like button. Hit that like button on your way out the door, folks. Share the show, share the stream. BCSN Pod Zone, available everywhere you stream podcasts, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and more. Thank you to everybody. That's going to do it. For AD Drew, I'm Bryan Fulford. Have a great, productive week. It's Super Week.
Travel light, everybody.
Have a super week, folks. That's going to do it for us. We'll holler. We're out. Peace.
But my beats, they are hard.